Hi, hello, my name is Gabio, and today we are talking about Lies of P. Before we start, I am not going to review any of the gaming bits. All of the gaming bits, I'm going to do like a short positive written review in the description, but this is only the story because that's what I care about. So hi, for this new short positive review, I decided to do something different. I wanted to try to talk about video games a bit. I'm not a gamer. It was my second ever Souls-like, and the first one was Elden Ring that I started playing like 2 weeks before I got Lies of P. So I'm not like a FromSoft like expert or anything. Even though I know that a lot of the compliments I'm going to give Lies of P stem from Bloodborne, its biggest inspiration, but once again I won't like talk about them because I don't know them enough. So let's get on with the short positive review. Usually I do a non-spoiler and a spoilery part, and instead I'm going to do a cut-off. So here I'm going to talk about until, let's say, the King of Puppets, so about 10 hours in of the 30-hour game, and after that I'm going to tell you when I go into like a late game shit. So Lies of P is the story of P, Pinocchio, who wakes up in the middle of a like train and gets told by an off voice, "Come find me, Krat and me needs you." And so in the first few hours of the game, you are in this world, this city that's inhabited by murderous puppets, and you are a puppet, but somehow you are not in the same way murderous. So you go through the city, and this is a Souls game obviously, so like the gameplay is just like you kill like bosses, but you go through the city and you find a bunch of different people, a bunch of different like experiences. Some puppets seem to have it for you, some puppets seems to just like want to go back to normal. There's seemingly no humans except for one lady in a window that has what she calls a petrification disease, which makes her lose her sight, and she thinks that a broken puppet is her baby. And so you are stuck in this world where you wonder like what happened here, and then you get to the hotel. In the hotel you meet a couple of people. So you meet Antonia, which is an old lady that has a petrification disease, and she was the owner of Hotel Krat, and she's one of the oldest like residents of Krat, and she's made the hotel like a safe haven for survivors. Her main helper is Palandina, a puppet that is nice, that never got affected by whatever's going on with the puppets outside of the hotel. And then you meet Eugenie, sorry for the French pronunciation. She is a weapon master that is obsessed with Alidoro, treasure hunter in Krat. So Krat has been like run over with machines, and then you find Sophia, which is the person who called you, and I love her. I'm gonna talk so much about her. She is everything to me. So Sophia tells you that you are a special kind of puppet. You were never meant to be done this way. You have a special organ, the P organ, like that is a heart that is able to collect ergo to make you more human. She sends you on your way to find your creator, Geppetto. So obviously, if you have not noticed yet, this whole game is like based upon the myths of Pinocchio, like the original tale. So Geppetto is the creator, Sophia with the blue hair she's a blue fairy, and then everybody else is like references to. So you go through and you beat a donkey, a man that's turning into a donkey like in the book, but yeah, and then you find Geppetto. Geppetto comes back to the hotel, and then your main goal is to stop the puppet frenzy, which is like the reason why all puppets are murderous. This world is dark. It is so inhabited by like creatures that want you dead. There is a lack of humanity in a lot of people, yet every few hours of gameplay you find a random person, usually a human, that asks something of you that shows that there are still sparks of humanity and people are still seeking their humanity. And I really love this like aspect of this story, and I don't know, I think Lies of P is a really fun game, but I really think that the story is what sold me a lot. Like visually it is stunning, but there's a lot of like subtle storytelling that then gets confirmed at the end. So the entire game you can like have your theories or like have your thoughts about what is going on, and I think that's like so well done. And yeah, I'm gonna go into the spoilers territory now, so like until late game I'm just gonna continue the tale that I've sprung. So yeah, one of my favorite like subtle storytelling is the white lady and her sister. So when you get into the opera house, like this area of the game, so in the Rosa Isabella Street, you find the white lady, which is a lady that tells you that her sister was killed by puppets like you, and ever since she can sing, she's gonna like defend her sister and she's gonna make you pay, so you have to kill her. And then you get to the opera house and you find her sister, which is the most well-known singer in Krat, and she's still alive. She has the petrification disease, but she's still alive. And when you're like, you talk to her, she talks about how she imprisoned herself and she poisoned her sister. So the actual story of what happened is that her sister was becoming also a singer, and the red lady got so jealous that she poisoned her sister so she would like lose her ability to sing and pretend that it was like nothing. That was just like, oh well, you don't have talent. And the white lady still loved her because she never knew and defended her to the death, literally, while the red sister was literally like standing in a room and like hatching away at her sister because she was so jealous. I don't know, it's a very compelling story, and it's also a thought on humanity, I guess. Let's talk about the King of Puppets a bit, because he's so interesting. So the King of Puppets is, when you find him, he starts to make you like a little like play, a theater play, and it's the play of Geppetto doing something weird to you, and then he reaches for your hand, and you can't control this, but P like rejects the hand. Obviously, you fight. Midway through the fight, Romeo gets out, so it's the real King of the Puppets. He is almost similar to P in appearance, and when you kill him too, you move on. But then towards the end of the game, you learn that, first of all, Pinocchio is the remaking of Geppetto's son that died, Carlo, and you realize that Romeo was Carlo's best friend at an orphanage because Geppetto's a bad dad, or like it's a whole thing that he was too obsessed with like creating shit that they were like in a simile orphanage, whatever. Geppetto sucked, but Romeo was his best friend, and so when Carlo died, Romeo died with him. The difference is that the boy, Romeo, opened his eyes. So the exact quote is, when the boy opened his eyes, he found himself sitting on a throne that he had not asked for. And so the role of King of the Puppets was imposed onto him simply by the fact that his quote-unquote soul, so his ergo, woken up in the body of the puppet that was sitting on the throne. Which, and throughout this entire thing, as the king, all he was trying to do was find Carlo. He was clinging to Carlo. And throughout the entire game, whenever a boss is a puppet, they try to talk to you, but in a puppet language. But it's Romeo trying to call you to him to tell you what's going on. Romeo is such a compelling character, and it's doing something so well of like, you learn how good of a character he is after he dies, and there was no way at that time you could avoid killing him because of the information you had and because you trusted Geppetto. It's so good. But in that same flurry of storytelling that we get at the end of the game, my favorite by far is Sophia's. So Sophia is the blue fairy, right? She tells you where to go, and she's the one who helps you level up throughout the game. So throughout the game, Sophia is a very like silent person. Like, she sends you on your way, and she definitely cares a lot about you. But for the whole time, you don't really know, like, why or, like, what's your relationship to her. And then throughout the end of the game, you realize, well, you learn that you are a mean to an end, and the end is her own life. So the one thing about this game is also, like, there's a couple of, like, forces going against each other. So there are the humans that are the survivors. Most of them are stalkers, so basically assassins. There's different factions, but, like, not important right now. And on the other hand of the human spectrum, there's the alchemists. Those are the ones that generally, like, completely receded into a secret island to survive everything, and they're trying to work on a cure for the petrification disease, which they actually caused, but they won't tell you that. So the alchemists, and then there are the puppets that are under the King of the Puppets that are actually, they're trying to go against Geppetto. They're preparing an army to let against Geppetto, even though they can't. So Geppetto was a member of the alchemists, but he's also the one who helped / did create the puppets. With Vanini, the other person that's at the Hotel Krat, he helped create the puppets and create their code. Geppetto put a code number 0 in their, like, rules that says that they only refer to their true master, and their true master is Geppetto. So throughout the entire game, the one that actually, like, caused the puppet frenzy is not Romeo, it is Geppetto. But to come back to Sophia, so before the events of the game, the leader of the alchemist was the father of Sophia, and Sophia developed a very special power that only her and her mom can do, which is seeing ergo, which in the world of Lies of P, ergo is this kind of like magic soul-like thing that fuels the puppet, and Sophia and her mom could control, manipulate, and rewind ergo. And so when Sophia's dad died, the new leader of the alchemists, Manus, which is a bad boss, I don't like him, but whatever. Simon Manus chained her, so he took her in, strapped her to a chair, and said, "You are now my blue fairy, and you are going to do as I say." And so the rest of her existence is stuck in a chair, rotting, literally, because she can manipulate Ergo, and she helps him. Because the petrification disease was caused by the alchemists to try to get eternal life by manipulating Ergo, of course. So they thought by manipulating Ergo, which is humanity in a way, like Ergo is a very weird magic thing, because what can happen is that Ergo is what fuels the puppet, but sometimes the Ergo can switch into ego and wake up the puppets, so they still are fueled by Ergo, but now they are like human beings. That's what happens to Paul and Dina throughout the game, and it's very interesting. And so Sophia can control it, and when Sophia was calling you, it was a projection of Sophia, so she can project herself into wherever. And she was projecting to you so you could kill her. And when you do, she gives you her own life Ergo, and you move on. And it's so magnificent. And then I'm gonna skip over Simon Manus. I'm just gonna go into the like Geppetto last fight. So once you beat the alchemist, which tried to become God, you go into a room where Geppetto is there, and Geppetto asks you, like, you've gone so far, you're almost a real boy, now give me your heart. And if you say yes, what happens is that he opens the box that he has, and in the box is the corpse of Carlo, and he puts the heart in, and then Carlo comes back to life. And you see a cutscene where Carlo went to Hotel Krat and killed every single person in there so that Geppetto could like eliminate all of the leftover people who could like hurt him, because Geppetto sucks, and they move on like happily ever after. And then when you load back into the game, all of the like allies, so like Eugenie, Polendina, like Vanini, they're all robot copies of who they were, which is so fucked up. But if you refuse, and if you lied throughout the game so you became like as human as you could, you have to defeat the corpse, which is controlled by Geppetto, and at the end of the fight you lose. And then Carlo, the nameless puppet, lunges at you and tries to pierce your heart, and Geppetto puts himself in front of you because he never fucking cared about you or about him. Technically, all he wanted was the heart to get Carlo back, and so Geppetto dies. And after his death, you go back up, and then you find a puppet that looks like Sophia, and you give her back her Ergo, and you like quote unquote die in her hand. You don't, you're just like exhausted after like, because like the events of the game were like a couple hours, I would bet, or like a couple of days, so like very short. And so you give her, and so Sophia comes back in the form of a puppet, and that is the end of the Prime game. There's a lot of things I didn't talk about that I really loved, like Giongo. So Giongo, he's a guy that you meet early on in the game. He's not an alchemist, he's a pharmacist, but he's obsessed with gold coins, which are an alchemist thing. And at the end of the game, you realize that he was actually the one instigating everything in Krat. So the events of the game are called the Krat experiments, which opens itself to so many sequels, but it was a group of people trying to figure out eternal life in a way, and their thought was that by giving the right hand of God, which is what Simon Manus got, like, so when he tried to become God. So if you give them to the alchemist, what would happen basically is the lore of the game. It just so happens that P and Geppetto were in the way of the alchemists. So Giongo is not actually, he's the first alchemist, so he's like very important, but he was pretending to not be, so just to like see what happens. And so at the end of the game, it hints that the next game is going to be about Wizard of Oz, which is kind of cool. I don't know, it just sets very fun things that like all that happened was contained and was like on purpose, because like what would happen if you give humans something that they can't control? And it's really interesting how this game is so intensely set on talking about humanity in a way that's so interesting and fun, and I love this game. I don't know what to say. I really love this game. I love the story. I think the characters are super fun. I think the storytelling is great. There's so much I didn't talk about that you should like go play for yourself, but I really wanted to talk about Sophia especially. And like P throughout the game also learns to become a human by all the range of emotion, both frustration, happiness. The music slaps. Feel Chef's Kiss, one of the best fucking songs I've heard in a video game in a long time. I don't know what else to say. I love this game. I hope I was able to convey how good it was. And now we're going on to the little montage. This piece was fun. I did it entirely while I had COVID art, I guess. So thanks a lot for coming around. I know this is a bit different. I usually review books mostly, and so but I really wanted to talk about this game because it was one of the storytelling that I really loved. Hopefully I'll be back before the end of the year with a special video, and you can find all of my social medias around the screen, and I'll see you very soon, hopefully. See ya!